Hello there, welcome to Davidoff's classic Ultraman reviews. We did Ultra Q, now we're doing this, and then obviously after we finish this we're going to the next show. And it's going to be some good fun. I was meant to do this every week. The last one was 2 weeks ago, I think. I've just been very busy with different things, but yeah, hopefully I can finish this show by the end of the month. That would be a good target to hit. But yeah, I've been looking forward to watching this show in general, and I've enjoyed the first 6 episodes, and I just watched episode 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And I'm having fun. It's a good show. It's getting better and better, I think, and it's just really awesome. And it was pretty cool to see monsters that I've seen before, and also monsters that I've also seen the fight scenes to, because I used to react to Ultraman fight scenes. That's when I first started watching Ultraman. I used to react like openings, fight scenes, other things. I used to watch a lot of fight scenes, and there was one fight scene recognized in these episodes, which I'll get to very soon. But yeah, if I keep looking down at my phone, it's because I wrote notes down, just in case I forget any details, so you see me looking down quite a lot. But let's get into this review, put some steam in the train. No, that's not the right term. It's put some fuel to the fire, get this train moving. Episode 7, let's go. This one is called the Blue Stone of Baradi. So Baradi is like a hidden city, hidden by a magical wall of light. So the team gets stuck in there. I mean, they don't get stuck, they go in there and then they crash into it. And Antler is there, a kaiju I recognize. Antler is a monster that's terrorizing the city and the surrounding areas. And they find this city, this massive biblical city, and there's a mountain in the background, Mount Ararat, which is apparently where Noah's Ark landed. So you go into this town and there's people there, and everyone's getting older because no one can get in or out because of Antler. So there is that. They have a queen. The queen is called Chartam. She seems to be the queen, and she's like the leader, and she can read minds. Apparently more people used to have this power until Antler came, I think. But yeah, she can read minds. She can read what they're saying. So like they go to this, they find this hidden city, and they don't know the language. They have no idea what the language is. They have this guy from Paris, I think, who doesn't understand either. He's like a translator, and they're just like, how can we talk to these people? Then the queen comes out and she can talk Japanese, but that's because she can read their minds, I think. I think that's how she understands them, how she can talk to them, which is quite a cool power to have. So here comes the interesting bit, right? So I mentioned Noah's Ark, Mount Ararat, which is actually like a real life belief as well. That's the mountain that he landed on from the Bible. But anyway, that's a different story. But in this fictional universe, Noah is also the god of this city. So their god is Noah. And then you see Noah, you see like a statue of Noah, and the Noah's holding a blue stone, which is obviously in the title. But Noah is Ultraman. There's an Ultraman-shaped figure, and that's Noah in this universe. And I'm just like, that's interesting. They mentioned Ultraman's ancestor 5,000 years ago arrived on Earth. So what you're telling me is, Hayata was not the first Ultraman. He was the first Ultraman show, but there was another Ultraman in the universe before Hayata. Is that what I'm hearing here? Is that what's going on? Or maybe it is Hayata. Maybe it is Hayata. No, sorry, not Hayata, sorry. Maybe it's Ultraman. Maybe it's the same Ultraman, but a different host. Maybe the host is Noah. I don't even know. I think I'm doing too much conspiracy theorizing now, but I'm just thinking, maybe it's the same Ultraman, but a different host. Maybe that's right. I don't know. I just thought like, oh, is that a different Ultraman? So Ultraman's ancestor, so there was another one before him. I just thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, at the end of it, Ultraman fights Antler, and they defeat it. One of the team, while Ultraman's fighting Antler, one of the team, the queen goes and gets a blue stone from Noah. She gets the blue stone, gives it to the team, and says, throw it at Antler. So he throws it at Antler. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember his name, sorry. But he throws it at Antler, and that's how Antler dies. That's how Antler gets destroyed. The blue stone has Noah's power inside, so Ultraman power inside it. And Hayata was running out of energy as well. Ultraman was running out of energy, so it was good that he did that. And yeah, they destroyed the monster that way. So that was pretty interesting. It was a good episode. Some interesting lore, interesting theories, and I like how they use like real life theories and like mixed it into Ultraman and made it like some weird fictional thing. I think it worked really well. So yeah, that was awesome. That was a very unique episode because it didn't feel like anything else in the series so far. I feel like it felt like its own thing, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, episode 8. Episode 8 was a fun one because it reminded me a lot of Ultraman Max, Monster Island, the two-parter. This one, you're on a monster island. A little bit different to Max, but some similarities to it. There's a couple familiar kaiju. There's like 5 kaiju in it. I think like 3 or 4. But 2 of them are, no, there's at least 4. I think there's 5. But there's definitely, I can't remember the rest of them, but there's definitely Red King and Pigmon. So you have Monster Island, you have Red King, you have Pigmon. Pigmon is a good person, good monster. So very similar to what I saw in Max Monster Island, right? So I thought that was pretty fun. I'm just like, oh, this reminds me of this. Maybe Ultraman Max did draw inspiration from this episode of this show, because obviously this show came first. But I thought that was pretty cool. At the start, though, they really showed how brutal Red King was. Like, I was just like, that is a very brutal introduction to Red King. Like, he ripped the wing of one of the monsters. I don't know what that monster was called. You can tell me that if you want. Red King ripped the wing off. Like, and I've seen more ripping off later on in the series and before this from Ultraman as well, but like, Red King ripped the wing off another kaiju. Like, they went full Mortal Kombat mode in this show, and this show came out before Mortal Kombat, so like, oh my days, some of these Ultraman kaiju could be in Mortal Kombat, because they could have some crazy fatalities, because they're doing this in this show. And the fact that it's also like, obviously this isn't like CGI, it's not like computer effects, it's actual like physical effects. They make it look really cool as well at the same time, so it's really good directing as well, and just really good filming. And I assume that it's guys in suits as well, so they're doing a good job. But the way he just ripped the wing off, I'm just like, Red King is savage! And I knew this already, but like, still, I thought, Red King is savage! And it really was bloody savage. So yeah, there was a particular scene where Hayata falls off a cliff. And he loses his device, so he can't transform when he's knocked out. I thought that was pretty interesting. Because I was going to say, oh, this is the perfect time to transform, but then he never gets to. But he gets to do it later. He transforms really late in this, actually. I'll get to that later on. So there was an expedition team. Not an expedition team. Yeah, an expedition team. So there was I think what happened there? Was it a typhoon or a volcano? No, typhoon was the next one. No, there was I think it was I didn't write this down. Something happened on the island. There was like a disaster or something. And after a while, they sent like 4 people to the island. I can't remember what they were doing. I completely forgot. But they sent 4 people to the island. 3 of them unfortunately died. 1 survived because he was saved by Pigmon. So in Max, Pigmon saved Ultraman, saved Kaito. In this show, he saved a expedition member, I guess, a researcher. But still, the similarity there. Pigmon saved someone from monsters in a monster island that involves Red King being the most aggressive and most dangerous one. I like the similarities there. And Ultraman transforms with 2 minutes left. I'm just like, finally, he's transformed! I checked the video. I'm just like, 23 minutes out of 25? What do you mean? Is this a 2-parter? It's not a 2-parter. Because someone told me there's only 1 2-parter in this, and it's like episode 26 or something. So I'm just like, wait, what? He's transforming now? It's going to be a very quick fight. It's like, the minutes left in the episode is shorter than how long Ultraman lost in the actual fighting. So I'm just like, there's no way his red thing goes off. Obviously, they don't film everything in real time, but still, you get the point. I just imagine to myself, this is even less time Ultraman has to fight. Like, he can fight longer than the episode length left. But regardless, I was not disappointed. Normally, when Ultraman transforms right at the end like that, it's just like, oh no, it's going to be like a quick fight. It's going too fast. No, I'm just like, they did a fast fight perfectly. Ultraman beats him to death. Like, this is brutality. Brutality. At the start, you see Red King ripping someone's wing off. And at the end, Ultraman literally just beats him to death. He doesn't use beams to destroy him. He doesn't use like a special power to finish him. He just beats him up. Beats him up against some rocks. He literally beats Red King to death. Ultraman is brutal in this. He ripped off the fin of a fish monster, and it probably died in the sea. And now he's beaten Red King up to death. You know how powerful Red King is? Red King is so powerful, and he beat him to death. To death! It's crazy. Maybe it's the sort of death that Red King deserved when you consider what it did to the previous monster. But my word, I knew it was going to be a good episode as soon as I saw that happen, and then a 3rd monster came out of the ground. I'm just like, this is a great episode even without Ultraman. Ultraman comes in the last 2 minutes and just destroys Red King. It's like this big Royal Rumble match, and Ultraman has won the Kaiju Royal Rumble. But that was my favorite episode so far. I enjoyed that. That was really fun. So yeah, episode 9. This was called Lightning Operation. I don't think I mentioned that. Episode 8 was called The Lawless Monster Zone. Episode 9, Lightning Operation. So this is the one where there was a typhoon at the start. So that was this episode. This one features Gabora. So I use a website called Ultraman Wiki, and it tells me like all the kaiju. Not for Cosmos though, that's annoying. I look on the Cosmos website and it shows all the episodes, all the titles, but no kaiju names. But for Max it does, it shows all the kaiju names. And for this show, it shows all the kaiju names for every episode. I'm just like, this is really cool, really helpful. And it said on that website Gabora, but on the subtitles it said Gavora. And this is on Avanaf's channel, so Avanaf's a good subtitle person. He knows what he's doing. So I'm just like, is it Gabora or Gavora? So I clicked on the name on the website, and it said also known as Gavora. So apparently it has 2 names. Apparently, I'm going to call it Gavora because that's what they said. They were saying Gavora in the show, but apparently it's also called Gabora. Has sort of like a hybrid name. Anyway, regardless of what its name is, this was a monster that looked pretty crazy. When I first saw it, I don't know if anyone who's watching, some of you watching probably have seen Kong Skull Island from 2017, a really crazy King Kong movie that came out a few years ago. In Skull Island, there's these things called skull crawlers, these crazy monsters. The monster Gavora in this looked like a skull crawler. The way it was crawling, the design of the monster and the thing at the front of it, like its face, it looked a lot like a skullcrawler from the Kong movie. I'm just like, did the Kong movies copy Ultraman? Because I'm just like, the design is very similar. I'm just like, maybe they used this for the Kong, maybe they drew inspiration from Ultraman, because the monster looked not too far off a King Kong Skullcrawler. I'm just like, that was like a similar animal to that monster from that Kong movie. Maybe I'm just seeing things, but I just thought it looked quite similar. But it was a cool looking design, very scary, very terrifying. It was a big fan of uranium. That's not the same as Skullcrawlers, but it liked uranium. So the idea was to get a helicopter, dangle some uranium in a capsule under the helicopter on a string, and fly up and lure the monster away to a certain area. So this was the plan. Hayata was the one piloting the helicopter, and he lured the monster to where he wanted to lure it, and then there was something wrong with the thing, so they had to detach it and drop it in a certain location, but it wasn't working. So then the monster hit the helicopter, and he crashed and exploded. Everyone thought, oh no, what's happened to Hayata? Also, good to mention that obviously Gavora is a different, like obviously it's, he has like a beak sort of thing, so like it opens and you've got a face inside. So when this beak opens up into like, it looks like a flower, like there's 4 triangles. Ultraman rips 2 of them off. Again, very brutal. He's destroyed some monsters in a very brutal way so far. This was no mistake. And again, next episode as well, there'll be another brutalized killing of a monster. But yeah, he destroyed the monster at the end, and he defeated Ultraman. Ultraman defeated the monster, and then Hayata came out alive, and everyone thought they saw him die. And it's funny, no one was suspicious of his death, of his like surviving, apart from 2 kids. So there were 2 kids that were just like, we saw you crash, we saw you explode, how are you okay? Hayata's like, oh no, look, I'm fine. And the kids were like suspicious a little bit. How is it that out of all the people who were there, like the whole team was there, a lot of people were there, it was 2 of the kids that questioned, well, how are you alive? I thought that was quite interesting. I thought it was just like, why would his team not suspect anything? The amount of times, that one looks so, like, he went down, he was in the chopper, and it exploded like 2 seconds later. So it's just like, the time it takes to escape the chopper is like, it looked like he had no time to do it. So I'm just like, surely someone's got to suspect this, and someone did, and it was the kids. But yeah, that was it was a fun episode. Sometimes you got to like ignore that ignore that part, because sometimes it's so obvious that, you know, that something is crazy, something crazy is going on when this guy keeps surviving. But obviously you kind of got to like ignore that sometimes for the sake of the show. But it's still fun to point it out. On to episode 10. Episode 10 is the mysterious dinosaur base. So this one features Jiras. There's apparently two spellings to this. Jirahs and Jirass. One of the two. Apparently they're both correct. I'm looking at multiple sources, but it's pronounced the same. Jiras is literally it's the same word, just different spelling. But yeah, this one takes place in the Loch Ness. Another interesting thing, they based this around the Loch Ness monster, sort of, not really, but it just takes place in Scotland in the Loch Ness. I don't know if they filmed it there, but that's where they've put the setting up. There were some researchers in the Loch Ness, and their bosses, I guess, decided to send them home. They're just like, it's time to stop. But one professor said, I don't want to stop. So he went into the Loch Ness and he disappeared. I kind of figured out what happened with him very soon, to be honest. But we'll get to that in a second. So actually, we'll get to that right now because that's the next on my notes. Monster Professor. So there's this crazy monster professor, this old guy with some crazy hair and crazy beard. I completely forgot what they said about the professor that disappeared, because they said he went missing, but I'm just like, how many years was it? Was it like 4 years, 20 years? I can't remember. I completely forgot what they said. I didn't want to skip back to the video just to see it, so I just thought I'd keep that mystery to myself. But I saw this old guy, this old professor, I'm just like, this is the guy that went missing. Like, I kind of knew that straight away. I'm just like, no, this is the guy that looks missing. The only thing that confused me was the fact that he looked so much older. I'm just like, how long ago did he disappear? That's what I was confused about. I'm just like, how's he so much older now? But like, I just had a feeling it was him. I'm just like, normally it takes me a while to figure these things out. That time I was just like, no, that is him. That is surely him. A professor went missing in the Loch Ness. Suddenly there's a mad professor in the Loch Ness crazy about monsters. So there's a professor that's obsessed with monsters, basically. He has this whole cave of monster drawings and he knows all about monsters, and he's just this crazy scientist guy. And it turns out, so they found out eventually, that he was actually behind a monster, Jiras. He created Jiras. He raised it. He knew it for 15 years. So Jiras kind of follows his orders, but not completely, as you find out later. But Jiras is in the Loch Ness, and he created this monster. So his obsession with a monster in Loch Ness ended up with him creating a monster himself in the Loch Ness, which is quite interesting in itself. But I guess Frankenstein's monster did not know what he created, in a way, I guess. Yeah, he created this monster, and in the end, when he was trying to give it more orders, the monster crushed him. It crushed him. He created the monster, yes, he created it, but at the end of the day, it's still a monster, and he found that out, even though he still loved it to the very end, which you see in the very last scene of the episode. But yeah, one thing I mentioned earlier about recognizing fight scenes. I made a video a long time ago when I used to react to fight scenes all the time. I reacted to Ultraman versus Jiras. I reacted to that fight, and I remember saying, why does it look like Godzilla? This looks like Godzilla. What's going on? This is Godzilla's suit with flowers on it. That's what I think that's what I said last time. You can probably find it on my channel. You can just search Jiras on my channel. You probably find it. But I was just like, I remember thinking years ago. I'm just like, isn't that Godzilla's suit? And you guys told me. I remember you guys. Well, some of you guys told me that is Godzilla's suit. It was revealed. It was borrowed from Godzilla movies, and they used that in Ultraman. And it was cool to see that suit again. I forgot how brutal Ultraman was, because it had like a flower sort of thing around its neck. So it's a modified Godzilla suit. It's not exactly like Godzilla, but they took that suit, modified it to make it more for their show, to cater to their show. Ultraman ripped this whole thing off. He ripped this whole thing off, then used it as like a cape. Like, you know, in the Spanish bullfights, you have a red cloak. You get the bull to charge you, and then you get the red cape, whoop, and the bull runs that way. Ultraman pulled that thing off Jiras, used it. He used part of Jiras's body as a cape thing to lure Jiras like a bull. I'm just like, this is ultimate disrespect. This is crazy. He is brutalizing Jiras. Even though Jiras is a crazy monster. But yeah, it was, to be fair though, when he ripped it off, it looked more like Godzilla, because obviously that was more like the suit, but I thought that was pretty cool. I also learned from a comment on that video, because I'm watching on YouTube. It said, apparently it's the body of Godzilla 1964, and it was the head of 1965. That's what I heard. So there's a Godzilla suit 1964 that they borrowed, but they brought a different head. The head was from a suit from 1965, which I thought was interesting. So obviously that was just, Ultraman was just a year after that Godzilla in 1965. So that's pretty interesting. I thought that was cool. How they used like a different suit, different head. I guess there's something wrong with the 1964 head. When Jurass died, I actually felt really sad, even though it was a monster. It was created by this mad professor, and it didn't know, like, it was living in this Loch Ness this whole time, and like it just came out to the open world, and its first things to do was to fight, was to destroy things, and obviously it just died almost straight away. So yeah, even though it had to be stopped, it was kind of sad, and the music that played as well, it definitely made it sad, and it felt like Ultraman like did like a funeral thing for him in a little bit. I thought that was pretty sad. Then the professor, which is a bit less sad, but the professor saw Jurass, and he died. He looked at him one last time. Jurass was already dead, but by this point, professor looks at him then and dies himself. So just a general sad ending, but a bit more sad about Jurass than the professor that created him. Then you finally get to the final episode I watched today. Episode 11, The Rascal from Outer Space. And this is about a rock that comes from outer space. So this rock, if you tell it you want something or to do something, it will turn into this thing. So someone could wish for anything and it would turn into, yeah, you want a piano? Here's a piano. You want a wife? Here's a wife. Or that was a funny scene, but they did that in the episode. I'm just like, what's this? Has she just spawned in? And then it turns out to be just a guy. But yeah, that was a funny one. And you can tell it to do anything. So someone had hatched a plan. I don't know his name. I don't know if he even said his name. But someone hatched a plan to. He was in a meeting. They were showing this rock. And he decided to leave like a speaker under his table in the same room as the rock. So from his car, he radioed the rock. He's just like, turn into a liquid, because if it turned into liquid, it would leak, because it was inside a box, so it would leak outside the box and go onto the floor. And then he'd say, turn into a rocket, and it turned into a rocket. Fly into my car. It flew into his car. So I was just like, this sort of power in the wrong hands is a big problem, and the characters in the show said this as well. That is a pretty damn big problem. And eventually he decides to turn this rock into Gango. Gungo, I can't remember how you pronounce it, I've forgotten now. Gango, I think is pronounced. Gango's just a kaiju that he's imagining, I guess, because he's got to imagine it as well at the same time. So he's turning it into human-sized Gangos just to scare people. Then he decides, you know what? Turn into a big monster. A big monster, that's what I want. It does that from a building. It just turns into this huge monster. The building collapses. He knocks himself out. He doesn't die, but he knocks himself out. So the guy who summoned the monster now can't... He can't say stop to the monster now because he's now unconscious. So this monster, until this guy wakes up, this monster's on the loose. So there's a big problem, obviously, for the city. What I thought was pretty interesting was the fight scenes, because I feel like the fight scenes are very similar to the person that summoned the monster. Like, sorry, not the fight scenes, but yes, the fight scenes, but I mean, like, the way the monster acted in the fight scenes. It felt like the monster acted a bit silly, a bit like that guy who summoned the monster, in a way, because, like, this monster's basically his imagination, I feel. That's how it seems like to me. So, like, this monster felt a bit silly. At one point, they were firing heat rays at it, and it just stood there, just like... And I was just like, oh, this monster's really powerful. And then suddenly its ear blows off from the heat rays. I'm just like, oh, so it was hurting him. Or maybe he's just weak on the ears. Either way, he just stood there just like, I can take this. And then his ear gets cut off by the heat rays, so he gets angry at that. There's a few times where he acts like he's injured. And he acts sad. And Hayata falls for it twice, in two different forms. First of all, it's acting like sad like this, ooh, ooh, and then Hayata's in a plane just flying by next to it, and it tricks him, it lures him to come in, and he grabs the plane and throws Hayata's plane into the sea or the pond or lake, whatever. And then he transforms, obviously, because no one can see him anyway, he transforms into Ultraman, and he falls for it again as Ultraman. Ultraman falls for it too. There's a point in this where Gangos acts injured, ooh, not again, he's on his knees, and how does it? Ultraman just like, oh, he stops fighting. He's caught off guard again. Hayata fell for this like 2 minutes ago, and you're gonna fall for it too. Ultraman fell for it, Ultraman got knocked down. I'm just like, come on now. He's played the same trick like 4 times. You should know by now. Is Hayata not in there somewhere to tell you? But yeah, I thought that was it was pretty funny. But yeah, it was a fun fight scene. And then the man who summoned the monster, he woke up, and they told him to stop imagining the monster. He stopped imagining the monster, and the monster disappeared. It turned back into a rock. So yeah, there was basically the key to winning this fight was not to destroy the monster. It was to make sure the guy who summoned the monster would stop thinking about this monster. So then, obviously, the rock would go back to being the rock. It only transforms on command and on your will and how long you want it. So there is that. So it just listens to what you want, I guess. And there's no like specific code to it. Like anyone could control it. Anyone could command it. Which is an interesting concept. And Ultraman at the end sends the rock into space somewhere, which is a bit worrying sometimes. Hopefully he's got good hiding space, because an alien kaiju with that weapon could be a lot of trouble. But yeah, I enjoyed that episode, and that was fun. Those are 5 good episodes. Favorite one so far is definitely episode 8, just because of how chaotic it was. And once again, Ultraman is very brutal with the way he takes down some kaiju. In 3 episodes that I watched today, is just like he's ripping something off, or he's beating someone to death. And you see Red King ripping someone off as well. So I'm assuming I'm going to see a lot more of these brutal takedowns and knockouts. And I am all for it. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, hopefully I'll be here next week for episodes 12 to 16. We're going to keep doing 5 until 21. And then I'll do a few. And then I'll do 26, 27, because there's a 2-parter, I'm pretty sure. Then we'll go back to 5 again. Yeah, we'll go back to, we'll do 26, I think 26, 27 are the 2-parters. So I do 28 to 32. I'll do a big, like, 33 to 38, and then the finale 39. Yeah, something like that. Hopefully I can do all of that before the end of the month, because on the 1st of June, I'm going somewhere for a week. Only a week, but I'd still rather watch this show, finish it before I go. But yeah, this is your boy Davidoff. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and goodbye.
Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it